There's been something in the news today that that has prompted me to speak about something that I've wanted to speak about for quite a long time. I raised this issue on a forum for VWT25s, and I was banned because I was quite insistent, and what I told the people was not met with a positive reception. I didn't get a good reception, and a lot of people said it was a conspiracy theory, and I was mad, and it's never going to happen. Anyway, it's been in the news today, front page news, that Ibiza, which is where I used to live, and Mallorca and Menorca, the Balearic Islands, have decided, or they're going to vote on a movement that's going to see all diesel vehicles banned from entering the island if they're not owned by residents in 2025, and then later on all petrol vehicles, that's all vehicles apart from boats, from entering the islands from 2035. So that's in less than 7 years. It will be impossible to go to visit the Balearic Islands with a diesel vehicle. On top of that, it's going to be impossible for the residents of the island to buy petrol or diesel vehicles after 2025 unless they're second hand and they buy them on the island. And petrol cars, they won't be able to buy them unless they're second hand up until 2035, and again they have to buy them on the island. And this is going to be a really big change because well, for one thing, most motorhomes are, I think, they're diesel. So in 7 years' time, there's going to be no motorhomes visit the island. And then 2035 finish. No motorhomes. I don't know if there are any electric motorhomes. I don't think there are. I once saw a video of a completely solar powered camper van, but I think that's a rarity. It really is a rarity. Most of them are diesel. Anyway, I didn't talk about specifically Ibiza on this forum. I talked about the incremental steps towards the banning of, in the end, private vehicles. And this is not a conspiracy theory. This is a fact. It's something that we are moving towards. I think the date is 2050, when nobody will own their own vehicle. It will all be communal electric public transport. And the reason why I'm talking about this now is because obviously this planned ban in the Balearic Islands, it's not going to just be the Balearic Islands. It's going to be all over the world. This is a global thing. The world, most of the countries in the world have signed the Paris Accord, and they've also signed up to what they claim is a voluntary agreement, Agenda 21, but they're all going for it. No country that signed up to Agenda 21 is not going for it. They're all proceeding along the lines, and this is not something that the people have voted for. This is not something that the people even generally know about, but it is definitely something that's happening. Agenda 21, the Paris Accord, all of these movements towards smart electric vehicles and homes. This is a plan, and it's all written out in stages. What we need to do here, there, then, to achieve the world, the society that we want. And obviously, apparently, this society is supposed to come to fruition in 2050. Well, I think we're going to see big changes long before then. But there's always incremental changes. So they're annoying changes, but they're not so annoying that they get people out into the streets protesting, throwing rocks at the town hall. They're annoying, but we can cope with them, and that they make the change. It's a big change that we're going to have between now and 2050. Life is going to be unrecognisable, but they don't want us to suddenly. They know that we wouldn't agree to this if it was thrown at us suddenly. So they make the change in incremental steps, almost indecipherable incremental steps. So although the steps are annoying, we don't realise what the long-term goal is. And the long-term goal is throughout the world for all of us to live in smart cities, for none of us to own private vehicles. I mean, that's going to come long before 2050. And for none of us to own private property. Of course, that doesn't include the people who are behind this scheme. They will, of course, own their own vehicles, own their own property. We will become a slave race. That is the plan. We won't even own our own beds. We will utilise communal sleeping areas. I don't know if you've seen the kind of, what do you call it? Call them little kind of pods that people can sleep in Japan, where they've got a very little space, or Hong Kong, and they rent them for the night to get a good night's sleep, and when they go off to work or wherever, the travelling business people can use them. Well, that's how they see us living, with no privately owned property, vehicles or buildings. So anyway, it was difficult to go and camp with a camper van to Ibiza before, but because they've put lots of restrictions, height and width restrictions, in the places where people would park their vans before. And they'll fine you hundreds of euros if you're caught camping, sleeping in your van. You're not allowed there's loads of places where you're not allowed to park. It was really, really hard in Ibiza anyway. But then in 7 years' time, less than 7 years' time, you can't go. You will not be able to go if you've got a diesel vehicle. And that's what's going to happen all over the world. It's going to become harder and harder to live this van life that is being heavily promoted by a lot of people on YouTube, as though it's some kind of the answer to all of our problems. It was in the news today that only a quarter of people up to the age of 34 own their own homes. That's with a mortgage or without. Whereas in the 70s it was 3/4 or something. So things are changing, and it's already changing. People are not already not able to buy their own homes. People are already not owning their own homes; they're renting them. And of course, the rich people will buy more and more land. They'll buy more and more property, and then they have the control that they need to force their utopian dream onto the rest of society. The ordinary people are getting poorer and poorer, and the rich people are getting richer and richer, and their control of us is increasing, and we're doing nothing about it. So anyway, I don't like the fact that living in a van is being promoted as the solution to all of our problems. It's not. It's something that's really great temporarily, or as an addition to your normal life. The ideal throughout history has always been to own land, and that's not changed, and it never will change, because land is the ultimate possession. Because land, it never goes away. It doesn't sink. Well, it can sink into the sea. Land can sink into the sea. Volcanoes can produce land, and then they can fall back into the sea. But most land, it's there forever. It's the only thing that's there forever that you can own, that you can buy. And so land has always been the ultimate ambition. You know, owning land has always been the ultimate ambition. It's in lots of old folk songs. You know, Scarborough Fair, buy me an acre of land, and it's very important to own land, because with land you can build a house, you can build, you know, you've got shelter, and you can grow your own vegetables, you can keep your own livestock, and you can defend yourself. You can, you know, build a wall around it and defend yourself. So living in a van is the antithesis of this. Is the opposite. You become a gypsy, and it's not ideal. It's certainly not something that young people should be being persuaded to believe is the ideal. It's not. And this tiny home movement, this is just trying to condition people into thinking that living in a tiny little shoebox or a capsule in Hong Kong is the ultimate life dream, the goal to aim for. It's not. I've been living in a tiny home in a camper van for 4 months, and I do like it, but it's not ideal. And I can't wait to get back to England and buy a shop with an apartment above, or buy a house to do up, and have my own home, space to move around, space to put my possessions in and display my possessions and express my personality, and a garden to grow my own vegetables and allow my dog to run around free and my child to play. I'm only in this van because it's convenient. It's what I need right now. It's certainly not what I want forever. I want a bath. You can't get a bath in a van. So my point is, it's not going to last forever. You know, this van life movement has an end date, and it's going to come very soon. So all the people who are building their lives on the van life movement, building their businesses on the van life movement, they need to realise that very soon diesel vehicles are going to be restricted in more and more places, and eventually banned like they are in the Balearic Islands, or will be in 7 years. And this van life utopian dream is going to come to an end very, very soon, because it's not going to be possible. It's not going to be possible to be this nomad on wheels, unless you're going to do it in an electric car or an electric van. I just don't think that's going to work. I don't think that's going to happen. It's not. It doesn't suit the people who are in this van life movement. The people in the van life movement are generally kind of creative types. They want to renovate old things. They're a bit bohemian, and driving around in an electric vehicle doesn't quite fit, does it? I mean, I love to renovate things, and that's one of the reasons why I'm in this VWT25 camper van, 1986 camper van. I renovated it myself. I'm keeping it on the road. Really, I'm the eco warrior. I'm the one who's doing her bit for the environment, because it's not just about the fuel that you put in the vehicle. It's about how you actually make the vehicle, and what goes into making the vehicle. And then and then how long does that vehicle last? How long is it going to stay on the road? What do you have to do to it to fix it? Well, you need computers, and God, you can't just fix it with a spanner and a bit of oil. Hopefully, you know, this van could last another 30 years if it was maintained, and that's a hell of a lot better than producing 5 electric vehicles and scrapping 5 electric vehicles, and all of the materials and the fuel needed to make them. So this van life is going to come to an end a lot sooner than a lot of people realise. It's a fantasy. You know, the answer to the problem of not having enough money to buy a property is not to then live in a van. That's not a long-term solution. It might be a short-term solution. It's good if you want to save some money to build up a deposit for a house. That's a great idea, really, really good idea, very wise move. Don't see it as your long-term ambition. It's not something to aim for. It's a means to an end. Use it to achieve another goal, a higher goal, which should be to buy land or buy a house, buy land and build a house on it, buy property, preferably a freehold property where you own the building and you own the land. I mean, these electric cars, they're going to be smart cars, they're going to be controllable. Eventually, this with the Agenda 21 plan, which is not a conspiracy theory, it is real, it is happening, it is going to happen. They're not going to have these charge-up points everywhere. They're not going to be in, remote places. The aim is to have us all herded into smart cities and have buffer zones around these smart cities where only officials can go, or the elites, and then the rest of the land, which is going to be the vast majority of land on Earth, is going to be inaccessible to ordinary people. It's probably going to be a wild wilderness playground for the elites, and they'll, fly around in their weird vehicles and go to their remote luxury retreats, but it won't be for us. An example of this, to prove that it actually is happening, it's real, it's not a conspiracy theory. There was I think it was a Danish man, a Danish billionaire. He has bought up, he's now the biggest landowner in Scotland, and he has bought up a huge amount of land in Scotland. What does he plan on doing with it? Handing it back to the people, carving it up into little plots, and handing it back to the people and asking them to start farms and start working the land and building hedgerows and things like that. No, he's going to rewild it. He wants to rewild all of the land. What does rewilding mean? It means banning human entry. Don't allow people in. Of course, it doesn't mean all people, because he's also going to build a luxury retreat for very wealthy people. So that is the future happening now. It is happening now. And if you think, oh, I'll go to Africa, or I'll go to the Middle East, or I'll go anywhere, somewhere rough and ready, where they're not going to be doing things like that. Well, think again. There are hundreds of smart cities either already being built or in the pipeline in Africa and even in India. No country on earth is going to escape this move. They're all going for it. All of the leaders of all of the countries have colluded to put in place this plan and make the change in incremental steps, small steps that are so small and apparently disconnected that we don't realise what they have in store for us. If you want to find out what they have in store for us, watch videos on YouTube of conferences, talks by the smart city suits who are organising our future without our say, without our vote, and without giving us the chance to say, no, we don't want that future. Watch videos on the people who are designing the smart cars, the people who are designing the smart cities, the people who are behind the technology needed to control the smart cities and eventually control us in lots of dystopian ways. So there you go. Please don't, if you're in the van life community and you make videos, don't tell people this is amazing, this is the way to go, this is the future, don't worry about buying land, a house, you don't need that, just get yourself a van. No, please don't do that, because you are putting a seed of hope into the minds of young people that is directing them in the wrong way. Be honest. Yes, it's great fun, but it's not a long-term aim. The aim, long-term aim should be buy a house, buy property, buy land, and stake your own territory. That is the only thing that lasts. Vans do not last. They certainly will not last for much longer now. Bye.